If you think about this for a few minutes, you will never speculate in your life. That is why there is this saying, 90% of speculators lose, and the 10% who say they don't are liars. Jason Zweig is probably the world's finest financial journalist today. He's much beyond a journalist. He's a writer. He's published excellent books. He says this: people who invest make money for themselves. People who speculate make money for their brokers. So we have to ask ourselves as investors, whom are we working for? Are we our own boss, or are we, as somebody said, the slaves of our brokers? One more beautiful saying from Jason Zweig: speculation becomes mortally dangerous the moment you begin to take it seriously. Do you know who are the people who lose the most in speculation? Is it the people who lose on their first deal? No. It's like putting your finger into the fire. You know it burns. The unfortunate devils who lose the most in speculation are the people who make, by mistake, by sheer mistake, who make money on their first deal. Because now they think they are Warren Buffett, John Bogle, and all the other names combined. And they will now borrow money and rush into it and lose big time. Speculating becomes mortally dangerous the moment you begin to treat it seriously. So who is a speculator? A speculator is someone who goes against a very important investment concept called the investment time horizon. I want to spend a little time in discussing this concept called the investment time horizon. Why? If you ask me to name one single reason why investors lose in fluctuating investments, it is either because they are not aware of or because they disregard this concept called the investment time horizon. First of all, let us see what the investment time horizon is. An investment time horizon is a time element attached to every avenue of investment, which, if adhered to, does two things for you. It eliminates risk and it delivers optimum returns. I'm a very confused fellow, so I always start from the bottom in anything, like I did for Frank Netty. Once again, we'll start from the bottom here. One word there, only one word: optimum. Do you ever find any investment or any investor or any investment advisor ever, even by mistake in his sleep, talking about this word optimum? Everybody wants to get maximum. They'll be lucky if they end up with the minimum. Very often they don't even get the minimum. There is something called the optimum return. If we try to achieve just the optimum return, that is enough. Very often, the people who try for the minimum return will end up with less than minimum. The people who try for the maximum will end up with either minimum or less than the minimum. But it's the people who try for the optimum returns very often will obtain a return that is somewhere higher than the middle, lower than the maximum. This has been the experience of investors, good investors, I have seen in my 25 years of experience in the financial services business. Let us spend 1 or 2 more minutes on understanding this time horizon, because it is that important. If I have with me here a lakh of rupees in hard currency, one bundle of 1,000 rupee notes. This bundle, this 1 lakh of rupees, I require after a time period of 7 days. Will I go to a bank and open a 5-year bank fixed deposit with it? You don't have to think. The answer is no, obviously. I don't have to ask somebody. Why? Because I need the money in 7 days, and my time horizon of 7 days conflicts with the time horizon of 5 years of the bank fixed deposit. So what will I do? I will look for an investment avenue that matches my time horizon of 7 days. What are examples of investment avenues that match a time horizon of 7 days? 7 days, first of all, is not an investment time horizon. It may be a parking horizon. I may need to safeguard this money, don't want to keep it with me in cash. So your current account, savings bank account. Okay, if you want to be a little more efficient, maybe something like a liquid fund of a mutual fund, something which you can easily encash, something which is absolutely safe. One more example. You know the farmers who grow rice. In the month of March or April, at least from the place I come from, they sow their grain. 6 or 7 months later, September or October or November, they harvest the grain. Now my question is, can the same farmers go to a place where they buy the grain, but this time they don't buy grain, they buy a bunch of mango saplings. In the month of March and April, they sow the mango saplings. Can they sue these people who sold them because they did not get the crop 7 or 8 months down the line? Just because you got it in paddy, does it mean you will get it in mango? The best varieties of hybrid mango saplings will give you meaningful fruit after 4 or 5 or 6 years. If you take coconuts, 60 kilometers from where I live, there is a Central Coconut and Cocoa and Arecanut Research Institute, very renowned institute. After all they are researching, meaningful fruit in the coconut palm still comes to you in about 8, 9, 10 years. Different things have different time horizons. We have a time horizon. It runs from our birth till our death. There are various things we do at various stages. That's a growth. And investment also has a growth path. The time horizon establishes that growth path. The time horizon of equity investments is 5 years. Anybody who tells you that you can invest in equity for less than 5 years does not know what he's talking about. 400 years of stock market history. Many people are surprised when I say 400 years. They think if you ask people how long stock market, maybe 70, 80 years. The Amsterdam Stock Exchange was the first stock exchange in the world to start in the early 1600s. The Dutch East India Company was the first company to be listed on this first stock exchange in the early 1600s. 400 years of stock market history teaches that a boom and recession cycle in the stock market generally takes, on the average, 5 years to complete. If you look at the Indian real estate market, a boom and recession cycle in the real estate market would take about 10 years to complete. What is the lesson that we learn from the time horizon? Money that I'm committing to the stock market should be money that I can afford to block for 5 years. Money that I put into real estate should be money that I can afford to block for 10 years. A time horizon, let me hasten to add, is not a jail sentence. I put money in 2010 in real estate. I'm prepared to block this money until 2020, but by 2014 I've got very good profits. Fine, nobody is preventing you from selling. But if you don't get the profits, then if you are prepared to wait till 2020, there are very good chances that not only will your money remain safe, it will also give you a decent return. That is a time horizon. Let us understand it by another example. This is the 25-year price movement of the Bombay Stock Exchange Sensex from 1979 to 2004 when you view daily price movements. That is important. You are viewing daily price movements. Let me give you an example to understand the time horizon. Let's say there's a youngster who in 1979 April, at the time the Bombay Stock Exchange started calculating the Sensex, came into a very good sum of money. This youngster now goes to the broker and says, here is the money. I read that the Bombay Stock Exchange is coming out with something called the sensitive index, 30 leading stocks. I don't want your tips, I don't want your research, I don't want your buying and selling. Invest this money in the 30 stocks of the Bombay Stock Exchange sensitive index